If you haven't met me already, I'm Harry Trainer, AI Solutions Architect at CPS. It is basically my job to do this sort of stuff day in, day out. So I work from the kind of discovery right through to delivery of assets, and yeah, get to work on some of these sort of fun projects. Well, with the construction industry, and as well, there's a lot of bleed here with project delivery. We'll probably talk a lot about central government as well because they are such a big customer when it comes to this sort of challenge. But it's really good again to glean, I guess, what different industries are doing with different challenges and looking at that as well. But yeah, I will get started. The main thing for me is kind of talking and setting the foundation for what the current challenges are. There are lots of challenges. This is not an all-inclusive slide by any stretch of the imagination, but it's hopefully the targeted ones for this session that we will cover. And I think as well it covers the two types of agents that I want to talk about, which is the standards. You know, I could be someone on a site, I could be doing it physical there, not in an office. You know, I've not got my colleagues necessarily surrounding me where I can just throw a quick question and get an answer. And it's that silly, where's that document? You know, what's the answer to that sort of question? And you know, you get that a lot, and it's often one of the biggest bottlenecks. Is it then creates a system where someone has to go to a help desk, a service system, whatever it is, to raise a question and hopefully get a response within a reasonable amount of time that doesn't then delay their job. So there's a lot of interesting kind of back and forth as well with that sort of stuff, that can just make it a challenge. Sometimes it's just also the systems and the kind of the information that person has, where it could be, oh, was it in SharePoint? Was it in an email thread? Was it one of these many kind of PDFs and policy documents that I've been given to read over? There's obviously lots of information that we have to deal with within our lives. And again, that's not a construction exclusive challenge in reality. It's very much like I said, the central gov piece as well of, yeah, they all have these challenges that they need to fix. The next one as well is the too many systems, wrong device. I think to me, this is the illusion around, again, I've already said it, you might have a lot of different actual business systems that you require to get information from, whether that's a live, you know, project management, it's your milestones, it's the risks, all the actions that are left undone, all that sort of stuff lives somewhere, and you need to go and access all of that. Again, there's nothing wrong with that. It's good. We've got hopefully up-to-date, good information that is controlled by those systems. That's a win. But then, when again, we're dealing with lots of stuff. Maybe we're a site manager. Dealing with all of those different places again can be an interesting one. And it's the kind of information overload as well. I know I'm a big AI advocate because my brain's ability to remember lots of things in lots of intricate detail isn't always great. So having these sorts of tools is where that really helps me. And wrong device, I think, as well, is a really interesting one. Obviously, we've gotten really good at rolling out the best type of device for the best type of role and the persona that person has. But it's also then thinking about, well, actually, if I could, again, golden scenario, walk around a site and the only thing I needed was my mobile phone because I had maybe a system here, I had Teams, I had then a chat with an agent within that. Again, that sort of stuff is how we think about streamlining. I'm not suggesting that should be for everything, but it's hopefully, again, those roles that can just be quick and easy with these sorts of integrations. It's working out which device works best for them. And agents, again, lead themselves to that sort of solution in reality. And the final one, I think, is probably the most important, and it's very much a much more specific one to construction as an industry. The first two, I think, are quite generic in the reality of things because lots of people have the same sorts of challenges in that regard. But the final one is very much this. Obviously, construction, the predominant thing about it is obviously safety. You know, the people that are doing these jobs, that are managing these jobs, whatever it is, are safe and are able to do their jobs within that, you know, realm. Obviously, quality and other things do really feed into this as well. And there are lots of things that make safety actually good, but it's the classic statement we found out too late. And that might just be a simple thing of, you know, you've breached an SLA, there's maybe some accreditation that you missed or something like that. Maybe the question someone needed answering quickly wasn't able to be answered quickly, and as a result had an impact and kind of down the chain of lots of information. There's just lots of things that this obviously fails up to. There's lots of problems that it can then dominate into as well in that regard. And for me, with the customers I have worked with in the construction industry, this is predominantly the main goal. Although we might be fixing partly a technical challenge, it might be some more process as well in the back end. The main goal there is to make the end users using the tool safer and more connected to their information at the end of the day. That is the most categorically important thing about these solutions. So, what are the two things I'm going to show you? First one is the hot off the press agent I'd been working on probably in the last month, 2 months, which just for the sake of keeping it simple was called She Agent. And very much is what it sounds like. It was the keep it simple but do it well philosophy, where we wanted to start with a simple concept that was answering SHIA, so health and safety essentially, related questions that might be an end user at a site wanting to know something and the specific nuance around that, the termage or whatever it was in the policy that means they can get on with their job. And that's a good thing. And it was keeping it simple in that regard of not going too crazy, not trying to add too many bells and whistles that effectively wouldn't actually validate what the concept was. Being able to give people answers to their questions quickly so that they were safer on site, and as a result, would reduce the inbox kind of mayhem, let's just call it, of the shear team being able to triage all of this sort of stuff, or even the phones, for example, in that realm as well. So that'll be agent number one. Agent number two, this is a really interesting one as well, in regards of this is where a lot of the industry crossover, I think, happens. It's effectively project management. It's effectively reasoning over a ton of databases, a ton of policy, maybe information, and being able to give grounded answers back quickly and easily. There's nothing stopping you, again, with these two agents of going to the actual source of the information, going to the policy and reading it verbatim, line by line, or going to your business management system that has how much budget was spent on this, or what's the risk on these projects at the moment. Nothing stop you from doing that, but the main point again is to make it more efficient for you to do these things quickly and easily. But yeah, have a quick swig of the coffee. We'll get into the first one. I'm going to show you actually some similar decks to what we would have presented back to the customers. Obviously, this is just the expedited version. There are a fair few more slides with this, but it's very much just, again, what we played back to them from what we'd understood from them, right from discovery through to then obviously delivering this agent into their organization. The first main one being, what was the actual challenge? Why did this thing need to be solved in the first place? I've obviously alluded to this a lot already, but for them, I think it was around 150 emails a day. Again, large company. That a team of, I think it was maximum 5 people, because not all of them were full time, that would obviously be triaging this sort of stuff. And not all of them would obviously be dedicated to that because they have day jobs. That isn't just their sole purpose of responding to emails. There's a lot when it comes to the shear team. Now, the interesting thing is one of the, I think it was the team leads, basically turned around and said, 99% within reason of these things are already documented, are already questions that could be answered. There's always going to be a percentage that is something needs a human in the loop, and that's very sensible. And that's obviously what we built into that system of, if someone asks about this and it's a topic we don't want to talk about within the agent, escalate it instantly with an email, with it, a little summary of what happened in the conversation so far, and ping that over, in essence, keep them in the loop. And that was a much easier mechanism. But in reality, what's happening here is, if I think it was, again, 1 to 2 people would sit on this inbox every single day. That was anywhere from 6 hours, obviously, to 12 hours, depending on how many people needs to sit on it, of essentially lost time. Obviously, this is a service that is needed within that industry, but it's the how can we reduce that to actually let people do the more value add side of things in their job. Obviously, obviously, a big component to that then is the solution I've already alluded to, of trying to solve that. And it's keeping it simple. Put a bunch of documents into a SharePoint site behind the scenes and make reasoning over that really articulate, really good. And a lot of what I found with the building construction industry is very much around the how the format comes back is quite important. The how it's presenting the information, the validity of what it's trying to say is really, really, really important. And again, I probably spent far too many hours prompt engineering this thing to make sure those guardrails were adhered to, and actually gave the quality back to the end result. And what was the end result? In reality, obviously, it's a 24/7. You don't have to have someone sitting behind a desk to actually be able to use this tool and get responses from it, and sub 30-second responses. I know that sounds possibly like quite a high threshold, but when you're trying to tailor towards quality, not just expediency of great, I got a question and an answer within 2 seconds, that's not always what you want. It's setting the scene when you start the conversation of hi, bear in mind responses might take a little bit longer, but we're trying to give you XYZ as a result of it. That's very much the importance of what this was doing. And in the end, in essence, you save that person having to do all of that stuff. I think the interesting proposition for them as a team was they weren't going to roll it out for the whole org instantly. And that's the recommendation in reality of, because of what it is you're dealing with, you've already got these SMEs that are responding to all these emails. Why don't you just give them the tool? They test it straight away, and they've got instant responses that are consistent and based on that grounded information that is that knowledge source. At that point, you've then got a really, really, really good kind of test set of saying what are the top 10 questions, what are the things we need to make sure are tweaked before we then actually start giving this right to the people within their mobiles, whatever it is they're accessing the agent through. So a really good success story, at least in my opinion. I'm going to brush over this next one just because I'll just keep waffling on. In the reality of things, take a bunch of policies, allow advanced research, sorry, not research, search and deliver them, and make it on demand. That's pretty much what it set out to achieve. And I think the biggest one as well for them as a key benefits and outcome piece, obviously we've covered the first one, but the second one was response time. Obviously, that's a big thing within the construction industry of the types of questions that get raised should have SLAs about how fast you can get back to that person, because there could be severe impact depending on what has been asked. And for them, getting that from I think what they had, like a 48-hour that again sometimes got breached, it's a really difficult conundrum. Getting that to that under 30 seconds response is really important. And as well, by doing that, you free up people to actually work on the more important queries in the first place, just by deploying this sort of agent to people. So really, really good in that regard. Right, let me go to the demo. Hopefully I've got the right one up. I've done a Blue Peter. Here's one I made earlier, just because, again, I don't think you want to watch me typing and watching responses get generated. It's not the most fun thing. So here you can see my sheer Q&A agent that we've been talking about. So start off with the most basic thing. How can you help me? It's a silly one, but some agents don't do this sort of stuff. And especially when you're giving this to people that maybe their day job isn't tech and they're really good at something else, but they just want to see how can this thing help me? It's a really important query to build into it. So I'm the assistant, I deal with policy questions, forms, and contacts. These are the main sort of things that people have questions and answers applied for. Get started. So again, this idea that it's giving you places to start. I know, again, it sounds silly, but from an adoption perspective, we need to think about those people that might not have used AI before. Again, it's very new tech. I know some construction firms have very much started adopting Copilot to chat, for example, but agents, again, is a whole different realm of trying to get people to understand how you actually interact with these things. Who do I contact about environmental concern? So it's actually pulled back some details, and I think it actually identified that there's a form instead of an actual contact in this specific scenario. Again, it's obviously demo data, but you get the idea. It's gone away. It's looked at an actual data first table, so rows in essence of information. It's done a semantic lookup to say, well, they're looking for the environmental sort of person here. They've got concerns about it. So, okay, we'll look at this person being responsible. Do we have any policies on how we deal with this? Again, this is just me asking random, lovely questions. But you can see here, again, very human, readable responses. That's a really important thing here. We don't like waffle. We like to get straight to the point. And I I think a big one as well is not trying to take away from the fact that all of this good knowledge exists. It sits somewhere and should be looked at, as in the policy documents themselves, and we need to remind people of that. This is quite a new response style as well, where instead of just trying to give people summaries of the answer to your question, read it. In text from those policy documents, putting it in front of users. They have the ability to say, oh, look, I can read it. I can actually understand what are the environmental policies that.
Sorry, Harry, to interrupt, but your sound is coming in and out for me. I don't know if it's the same for you, Greg.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if that was just me. But yeah, you're coming in and out of sound, Harry. Your headphones.
Fingers crossed it comes back. Has it gone back?
It seems
We
better
can hear
now.
you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think my
let's try
laptop's
again.
possibly getting warm again in this weather. Fingers crossed. Thanks for the confirmation in chat. Where was I? Yes, so the main kind of concept here being is grounding our responses, letting people actually be able to read this information as well as getting the answer, because that's again a big component of trust. I want to be able to trust this agent, see verbatim things that is.
It's started to drop out again, Harry.
Fingers crossed. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing. Oh, did it work then?
It sounds better again.
Oh dear. Fingers crossed. If not, I'll have to go into mime. Where was I? Yeah, so hopefully you get the point there. Rounded responses for the policy questions that you've got. Same thing here with the way that contacts work. I think it's this whole concept of AI being able to, again, give broad answers. So you ask for one thing. I've been quite just non-specific here. So it's tried to give me as much detail in that response as physically possible so that I can go and actually look up myself what that might be in the end. Let me just slip back to these. So that is, again, that's the sheer agent at the end of the day. It's simple, it's straightforward, but it does the job hopefully really well. And there aren't too many bells and whistles to keep things simple, to keep the value there that is the people that need these questions answering can get the questions answered as quickly as possible. If I move on to the next one, again, same sort of principle here, a chat-based experience. And I have, of course, prepped one earlier. This one does take sometimes a little bit longer to respond, again, just because of the quantity of what it's trying to do. But here I've done, cool. I'm a site manager, let's just say. I'm wanting to check in. I could be a regional, I'm checking on multiple different projects. It's all very possible. So what is the current progress at XYZ site? Oh, here's the progress. And from the behind the scenes, not that obviously you can see this, there are lots of different tables, lots of different data sources that effectively made up this response. So obviously this is the status summary, this is the who's on it, who's the PM, what's the contract value at its current time, and what's the projected program timeline. Then pull back.
Starting to drop out again, Harry.
Oh dear.
Is it wiggling your headset, or is it the
I think it's honestly my laptop's been getting quite warm and Teams hasn't been liking me recently.
Right. It does seem like it's back now, so yeah.
Okay, cool. Apologies about this. Could be your emails being synced, yes. It doesn't surprise me if it is. Oh, crikey. Oh, I'm being thrown off now. But yeah, again, this is the sort of stuff that I spoke about, that lots of different customers have the exact same challenge. The big difference here is the how you wire it, how the questions are asked and answered. You're kind of sitting on these kind of standardized project management, program management, portfolio management tools that present their data in certain capacities. This is very much the format that, again, we worked on, but they liked. It's the quick, it's the summary, it's this balancing act of, I'm probably on site. I want quick answers. Maybe I'm just trying to find the financial stat for something or the what's at risk at the moment versus I want to use a proper program management tool and deep dive into something. There is always a good use case for having both of them, but it's a really good way of tailoring that to people that might have, again, different challenges, different devices, different use cases given the time when they're using it. The nice thing as well about AI is the summarization piece, the find me anomalies, the find me the risks, the find me XYZ across all my different programs. Some of it is the data challenge, but then some of it can be enabled as well with an agent sitting on top of all of that data. So do remember that. This does require nice data in the background. Again, as I've alluded to, all the different customers we work with, that's one of their biggest challenges. Agents can help, but does your data actually sit in the right place, in the right format, of the right quality to give you those rounded answers in the first place? I think the fun thing about this as well is aggregating lots of different data that you might not have analyzed before from that end user perspective of, oh, how many people are on this site? Oh, great, cool. Are there any people that need inducting? Okay, cool, I'll get someone on that. There's all sorts of interesting ways of how you approach this. I think this one as well, I was doing a random question of, oh, what are the approved concrete kind of products that we can use on this specific site? And it's gone away and it's looked up product catalog, which again is now sitting in SharePoint and has got all this information on it. It's given me the spec sheet, which again sits in a different side of things. So the agent has gone away, understood what I asked it, broken that down into a little task of saying, find the product, find the approved list, go and check the product spec, and then actually respond back to Harry with this nice, neat little kind of piece of, cool, here's the answer to your question, type thing. Conscious of time, and if there are any questions, I'm just going to zip through, hopefully if I'm still audible, to my last slide, which is very much, these tools never replace humans in construction industry specifically as well. It's very much about allowing them to do their jobs, do the things that make your people safer, have higher quality, or get more stuff done. In essence, that is the big piece here. I think removing the friction is one of the biggest ones of got to wait for an email to come through to answer my question, and I just want to get on with my job. I just need to get stuff done. Again, a big component of this is being able to do that. I think the building for production is quite important in construction. The answers that you give people need to be checked. You know, with the two examples, they are basically knowledge retrieval agents that reduce a lot of friction, but need to be accurate, need to be really good. And there's always going to be the case of you're using AI, double check what that thing is if it's a really important decision you're making, but also they should be grounded in that truth. They should be really reliable regardless as well. Start small. That's my biggest piece of advice. Do proof of concepts, have some fun, build this with teams that are passionate and love what they do, and you'll get really good products at the end of it. But yeah, I will stop sharing now. I'll just double check chat for any questions. But yeah, doesn't look like we've got anything. Greg, did you want to say anything?
Yeah, I'll introduce myself very quickly as well. So I'm the sector lead for built environment. So I've loved the job of working with construction and house builder organisations all day long. It'd be great to hear from you guys, what stage you're at with agents, whether you've built any yourselves, whether you are developing use cases, and we're happy to support that with them. So yeah, please feel free to reach out to us and reach out to myself directly or Harry or just go on the website, whatever works best for yourselves. But yeah, we can stay on for a couple more minutes just in case there's any questions. Doesn't seem like there's any questions.
Cool. Oh, lots of typing.
Okay.